everybody, welcome to December. This is
Hi.
Dice Populi. Is Ryan going to say hi too, or is it just...
Hi.
Okay, I was caught off guard. I didn't expect Matt to say hi. Like, I'm at once delighted and confused.
You're welcome.
As I think most of our listeners will be in a moment. This is our fifth Wednesday bonus episode. There's an extra Wednesday this month, and we're too lazy to do real work, so we're going to do this instead. We are going to spend about an hour with you doing a couple of things. First, we have some announcements. The word some is doing some heavy lifting there. We have many announcements that we want to talk about our show and how we're managing our community engagement and interaction. And then we're going to get into the meat of this episode, which is a question and answer with Maddie here, talking about his adventure, A Second Chance. Because we wrapped up his time-bending story arc a couple of weeks ago. We've had a couple episodes since then, but we figured let's take the time, let's get the scoop on what it was like for Matt to tell that story and to get us to tell that story with him. I say it that way because it definitely got combative at times, and it was definitely my fault that happened, but it's okay.
It got combative?
That's a bit of a stretch. Don't give yourself too much credit there.
I don't remember it being combative. I mean, I remember there being probably what got edited down because of just how much of a weirdo conversation, but we had like a full-on 10-minute conversation about the feasibility of like stealing a cupboard.
Yep.
I think that was the most
octopus's
contentious
horse.
Yeah, I think that was the
a lot
most
of animal use that was questionable.
The octopus definitely strained a lot of relationship credit, I think. But honestly,
weird.
It was all fun. It was some of the most fun I've had doing this podcast and playing this game. So yeah, over the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to talk about some of our changes to community stuff. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about our adventure. And at the end, we have got some really big surprises about the future of Dicey Waters. Let's get into it. We have a lot of upcoming changes, not just to the show proper, but also to how we manage the show and how we talk to our listeners directly. Just like some run-of-the-mill updates here, we've had a little bit more engagement with our Discord server than we imagined. I think, Ryan, you propped it up just for like a movie night or a game night, and it snowballed into a pretty active and fun place to hang out with people.
Yeah.
And we've got folks all over the globe chatting it up, especially over the holidays. There was a lot of fun shares and cross time zone talk.
It's been working out well. I now, I think, understand how to set up a cult.
Just make a Discord server.
Yeah, it's basically just setting up a Discord server and then setting a religious symbol, which obviously is Jerry in our Discord. And then it just kind of does its own thing. Like, Colin is fighting Jerry in his ascendance to godhood. And every time Jerry levels up Colin when he's in the middle of speaking on Discord, he yells at him, and then like 10 to 15 people instantly just like burn Colin.
I get
like
so
raise
annoyed
him to the ground.
Like my messaging style is, a couple lines in a row, and I get one line into it, and Jerry's like, "Hey, Colin, you leveled up," and I'm like, "Fuck off! I'm trying to talk." I get so aggravated, and nobody has any patience for it.
Yeah.
But it really is a fun time, and everybody hails Jerry, which is one of our server mods, our little bot, based on the eponymous Jerry from A Second Chance. So we have taken a good long look at how this all runs, and here's what we've sort of come up with. The first thing that we want to introduce to the structure of our show is the idea of seasons. Anyone who plays a game as a service game like Fortnite or Destiny is going to know, like, every couple months, here's a new thing to buy. But, I mean, we're not selling you a battle pass that will give you loot drops necessarily. Yet. Don't worry, we'll get you those Eververse engrams before long. the seasonal structure is just a way for us to sort of time things out. So these Fifth Wednesday bonus episodes tend to happen every 3 months, sometimes 2, but usually 3. And we're going to start to use that as kind of our schedule for rolling out updates. And we'll get into more of what some of those specifics are. But instead of us just trying to, patch holes on the boat as we go, we'll just do what game developers do and let the holes leak for 3 months and then fix them all at the same time. And really with that in mind, knowing that in 3 months we'll do another one of these bonus episodes, we'll have some stuff to follow up on. Let's get into what that stuff is. So thanks very much to the hard work of Matt. We aren't selling you a battle pass, but we have come up with something else. We are going to very soon be launching a Patreon.
That is correct.
Yeah.
We are really, really appreciative of all the support that we have received for the show. And I guess we're going to be doing for coming up on 2 years now, soon enough.
It's almost 2 years since we started working on it. Yeah.
Kind of nutty.
Just pretty wild.
When did we we launched in March?
We launched in August of 19, but we started recording in February of 19. So for us, it's been a long journey.
So it's not. We're working on it. We still got like 8 months.
Yeah,
but it's 2 years in my heart, Ryan. That's what's important, that's right? But our Patreon, it's nothing flashy, it's nothing big. We are only starting with 2 tiers, and the goal primarily is to, 1, try to offer you some stuff that we've been wanting to offer but haven't been able to, but also to sustain the production. And I'll talk about some of those details in a second, but we're starting off with 2 Patreon tiers, meaning, paid monthly donations with rewards. Matt, what do those tiers look like?
So our first tier is $2, and that is supposed to be just a bit of a tip jar, something to help us keep the lights on, something to help keep the episodes posted online. So with that first $2 tier, you get recognition in our Discord, and we'll shout you out in an episode as well. You'll be able to vote on the titles for the episodes before they get released, and you'll also have priority for submitting items and names to be used in the show, which is pretty cool. We're also going to have a second tier at $5, and this is where it gets a little spicy. You get everything from the first tier, and you also get access to an exclusive channel in our Discord and a little secret project that Ryan has been working on. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that, Ryan?
No.
All right, and that's the show.
So the bonus feed that we're setting up, it is going to be its own distinct campaign. It is going to be kind of separate from Dicey Waters, so you won't miss out on anything.
Just to interject, we're doing a bonus campaign.
Yeah, we're doing a bonus campaign.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be its own thing, kind of independent from our current campaign, so we can kind of do this more freewheeling. We don't have to worry about like accidentally messing with anything in our current one. It is going to be an Eberron campaign, one of my own creation, one that I was making for about a year or so. For my personal campaign, basically if one of my current games ever TPK'd and I didn't want to do the current modules anymore. So I've put a lot of thought into it. It's basically mostly completed. I've actually cut up modules out of this before and done one-shots in Eberron. And nobody in the podcast, I believe, has played them, but I played with them friends, and they've all come back very well rated. So that gives me a lot of hope for this. The biggest, I think, departure besides setting is that we're going to do a different RPG system. So to make things easy and to make editing, I think it's going to make editing a lot easier for Pat, who's going to be editing these episodes. He's a neophyte editor. We're going to use the quest system. And the big differences between quest and D&D, of course, is that there will be a lot less rolling. It's more of a narrative thing, so I think it'll be a lot more fun for everybody to kind of really dig into. There's still combat, there's still like magical items, there's still monsters to fight. But I think in my perception of Eberron, I find it a very cinematic world, and I think Quest will help bring that about, because there'll be a lot less focus on like, ooh, do I see that person over there? Roll a d20 or whatever, which is not something we typically do, but I think it can happen.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I really like the Quest system. If Pathfinder were to be like a crunchy peanut butter, and D&D were to be like a medium crunch, just like a little bit of grit, Quest is completely smooth. The rules for the player is very limited. You don't have to remember a whole lot, and I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Ryan, do you want to say the name of your adventure?
No.
Oh, yeah. So the name of my slick new bonus campaign is Entrenched.
The way that this has gone so far is we've recorded a planning episode. It's about an hour, give or take, and that's going to release early next month along with the Patreon. And we'll put that out and then begin the episode proper 1 month later. This will be a monthly guaranteed drop of content based in Ryan's new campaign and setting. This $5 tier and this bonus feed is also going to make room for if we decide to do more of those like one-page episodes, random one-shots. If maybe we have a recording that for a Dicey Waters episode that goes off the rails and we just need to vent about it. The bonus feed is going to be our place for additional content, but this is a way to sort of bolster that by making sure you always have something to come back to. Now, in addition to the Patreon itself, we talked about how it's going to grant additional roles and recognition in the Discord server. We should mention, if you don't want to use the Discord server or join that community, all the stuff like submitting items or getting recognition on the podcast, like all that stuff still applies, and you'll still get the bonus feed if you go to the $5 level. But we are trying to lean into our Discord server. And that comes with a couple of different things. In the Discord itself, as Ryan mentioned, we have a Jerry that levels people up based on their use. And we're going to sort of expand that. So after chatting with folks in the server, as you chat and engage, Jerry will raise your level. And every time you hit a certain milestone, you'll get a new title based on something in the podcast. So when you join the server, you're a Farpoint escapee. And then after that, you could become a Far Lord. And it's just a fun way to sort of climb the ladder in line with the story the podcast is told. But to line up with our seasons, we're also introducing a new robot mod named Uge, who will stare at you from his pocket dimension and every season figure out who has contributed the most to the server. So when a season ends, we're going to look at Uge, we're going to see who comes out on top, and that person will get a reward, a giveaway, something of monetary value, funded, ideally, by the Patreon. And so we're going to try to make sure that this engagement is rewarded on all fronts. So for those of you currently interacting with our Discord, there's going to be more ways to do that and more stuff that you can get. We're probably going to be talking with our community members about what kind of reward specifically they want to see. But after polling some people, this first season here is, we're just going to be calling it the season of the Jerries. So you can expect something maybe Jerry or zombie related. And we'll see who comes out as the victor, as the recipient of that reward in just a couple of months. Now, a couple other miscellaneous things before we push forward. Those one-shots and bonus episodes, anytime that we do them, those will be limited to the bonus feed now. This 5W feed is now going to be more based on not just these Q&As and these behind-the-scenes looks, but also keeping up on our new seasonal stuff. Obviously, every 3 months, we're going to have some stuff to announce and follow up on. So we want to make sure that we're sticking to that and we're staying true to our word. The website is also going to get an overhaul. I'll be working on that in just a little bit. and making sure that it's a little easier to find what you need to find. And that's dicepopuli.com. Let me scroll through my notes here. I know we just announced like a million things.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to mention is that regarding the Patreon, at the end of each season, I think our plan is we're going to take about 25% of what we have gained from the Patreon, and it's going to go towards a charity.
Yes. So the plan is 75% of all money that comes in from Patreon will go to sustain the production. That's going to be stuff like, podcast hosting, these giveaway ideas, and maybe eventually ways to grow the show. But the 25% is going to be fixed. And every season, we're going to pick a charity to which we want to donate our funds. And these could be pretty much anything. These could just be supporting people in need. These could be social activism. These could be a lot of different things. And we'll likely have a dialogue about what people think are worthwhile charities and where we can divert that. But after chatting amongst each others, we're all gamers. We play games. That's what this whole podcast is really about. So the first charity that we are selecting for a season of the Jerries is the Ablegamers Charity, which is focused on making sure that people with accessibility needs to participate in games and gaming culture have what they need to do so. I think that's pretty in line with some of the stuff that we try to do here. So when we launch the Patreon, if the money flows in a sustainable way, we're going to make sure that come the next 5W, we will announce how much is being donated to Ablegamers. And at that point, select a new charity for the next season after that. I guess the last big change I want to announce here and now is how we're handling engagement rewards. Obviously, Discord has its sort of own ecosystem with Jerry and Uge and the seasonal rewards. But we've also been talking about stuff like merch and broader community engagement. Right now, there's a laundry list of things on the site that are all different ways that you can unlock rewards, like how you get soundtracks and stuff. And we're going to streamline that a bit. We're going to essentially make it so that every season we have a reward based on a community goal. So what I'm going to say here now is over the next 3 months, we would love to have 500 new listeners to the show to grow all of these opportunities, to grow the Discord, to grow the Patreon, allow us to do more stuff for you and learn more from you. So if we can hit 500 new listeners in the next 3 months, we will be issuing, once again, a Jerry-themed reward, and we're thinking in the terms of limited-run Jerry merchandise. We've had a lot of suggestions from the community. We are listening. So if we hit that goal, you can expect something special to be made available at the end of the season of the Jerries. So, wow, yeah. So, like I said, we had a lot to announce. Seasonal structure. Every season, we're going to do Discord giveaways. We'll update the channels to keep the Discord clean. Announce new charities, announce new rewards and goals. Matt has done an outstanding job getting our Patreon structure together, and if things continue to grow, we have some ambitious plans for new tiers, even higher than our bonus feed by Ryan. I guess with that, I'm going to make sure that all this stuff is visible in the Discord on the website because I don't expect you all to remember it. But that's sort of where we're headed, and we're looking to launch all of these things on or around January 6th, where we will be going into our next Dicey Waters story. That's our next episode proper, 1 week from today. And we'll talk about that in just a sec, give you an idea of what's coming up. But I think I'm ready to learn a little more about A Second Chance, mostly because I've been talking so much about this giant bullet list on my screen, and there are more fun things to talk about. So, Matt, how you doing today?
I am considerably less stressed now that the holidays are pretty much over.
Yeah.
And, it's
Say it
been
ain't
fun.
so. Say it ain't so. I love the holidays.
Say it ain't so. Wow, wow.
For several months, you ran us through an adventure called A Second Chance set on the island of Arianor.
And I think that was the longest campaign that we had so far.
Yeah, definitely was. At the beginning, you and I had some chats about how long we wanted it to last, and I think it blew past both our expectations.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Before we get into some of the questions from both us and our community, how do you? What are your thoughts on it? How do you feel it went? What is your general vibe after running a second chance for us?
I think that the way it was structured, if you guys, I thought you guys solved it pretty quickly. And I know it probably doesn't feel like that because it was stretched out over so many episodes. But I was fully prepared to keep throwing you guys through the events of the day on Arianor if you guys didn't, fix anything. So it would just kept going on and on and on. Which I'm sure people are very glad that it's over now. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of back and forth on what the original premise behind my campaign was going to be. And I remember Colin and I were talking. I wanted to do something that had like a bit of like a political intrigue, and then I don't really remember where the idea for the time loop came from. Do you remember?
Yeah, Matt, you and I, we started planning yours pretty
early.
Long time ago. I think before we started recording, you came to me with the idea of Arianor. The staple that was always there, as I recall, was the Mage Lords.
Yes.
And the idea of like a kid being utilized in this way. I remember the hook that you initially. I don't remember all the details. You originally told me like they sail up to the island and like there's these people having a fight and one gets thrown over a cliff or something.
Yeah, something like that, which I think evolved into Cordell getting his ass bit by a shark and bait by extension.
He died.
Well, he died in some timelines. So
well, yeah, I remember. I thought it was more of a permanent. Well, no, I thought it was bait that got bit in the ass by a shark, and he was a little baby for like an episode. Oh, my butt hurts.
Okay. I think that's a pretty reasonable.
So I'm totally about to Christopher Nolan this. Just explain it after the fact. I totally lost what I was. Nope, I remember. Yeah, so I'm about to Christopher Nolan this and explain everything after the fact. But basically, the loop had already been going on before you guys showed up. So Cordell would just keep on dying, basically until you guys came in and told him, "Hey, your kid is missing," more or less.
Yeah, it's like there's an episode of Next Gen like that where the Enterprise keeps blowing up over and over, and when they get out of the loop, they're like, "Oh shit, we've been blowing up for weeks. We should probably, get everything back." Yeah, we should sort this out. I took the coward's way out and said, "Let me ignore all these implications and just jump ahead like a week and not deal with any of that. Not deal with Sergio the guard." Mostly just because, not just because I didn't want to deal with it, but because I thought the story of Arianor worked so well. It was all very neat and tidy because it was like a 3-day thing, so that fits a classic story structure. But it did. The fact that it worked out that way was not planned, so it all held together so tightly on the island that I didn't want to like pull on those threads, and I wanted Matt's story to remain intact.
Yeah.
So with that, Ryan, you and I have a list of questions from the community in front of us. Let's see what we can pry out of Matt. I think you actually asked a question, Ryan, that I took down.
I was curious about this. How much stuff did we actually miss? Because I think we got really focused in pretty early.
Yes, you did.
And I think we missed out probably on a lot of stuff. How much stuff did we miss out on?
So, basically, the way I had it organized was that, there are like 3 main areas. You had the town, which included the docks. You had the area around the cave where the bandits were, and then you had the Mage Lord Keep. And each of them had their own individual schedules that basically, interwove with each other, same thing would happen throughout the day. So one thing that you guys missed was that you really didn't explore too much in town.
Yeah, as noted by the fact that we found the silvery fountain underground miles away instead of the one in the church. And how every episode Matt was like, the church bell starts ringing, everybody walks out of the church, and we're like, nah, let's go in a cave.
Yeah, no, I kind of thought that you guys would interact a little bit more with, going into the church. That I was planning to have a lot more set up about their goddess Lema in there, which I think I like to think that I kind of tied that up a little bit neatly, but we'll see in due time. Another thing that you guys kind of missed was at the very, very beginning. There was a combat scene between bandits and mage lords outside the cave.
What?
That you guys could have intervened in. Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, there were signs of a fucking fight, weren't there?
Yes, there were.
What? How could we have gotten... We made a beeline there, Matt. How could we have gotten there in time
you
to
guys
do it?
always stopped at the docks to talk to Cordell. You could have just let him die and, do that. But, I didn't really expect you guys to, make it there all the way. But, there were definitely some bits and pieces. But for the most part, you guys managed to explore the entirety of the island.
Did you foresee the amazing strategy of pretending to be soothsayers? This is an impromptu question.
Yeah.
Did you foresee that brilliant strategy, and did it throw you through a loop because of how brilliant and
Ryan, Matt threw us all through a loop if you think about it.
Yeah, haha. I think that was definitely the most tame out of all the unorthodox solutions that you guys presented. Including the fucking octopus and whatnot, and Jerry.
There were so many instances where Colt/Ryan did things like that, where Colin was like, "Fuck, that's so good," and Bait was like, "I hate this guy so much," and I kept trying to find ways to just bring those two things closer together. It was so fun.
But yeah, Soothsayers was definitely we've kind of established that when the party disguises itself, they do a really good job, especially
Trash Wings 2.
Oh boy.
So I actually wanted to ask Matt, and this has a tinge of, I guess, moral quandary to it. How many times were you willing to let Cordell die for us to figure out the mystery? Because we did not save him most of the time. And you've implied he could have been dying for many years before.
I was prepared for everyone to die and come back. Maybe I'm a sociopath or whatever. I didn't have that emotional connection with the characters, as you could probably tell by my great voice acting. But yeah, no, Cordell could have just kept on dying infinitely.
Tamara had a few questions. Were there any major events that the boys could have run into that they never saw? Wait, did you already say this one?
Well, I kind of answered it by describing some of the events.
Okay.
So this one merges into it. So maybe is there any other events potentially that we didn't see?
Yeah, because it seemed like Majora's Mask style, those clocks that you set, it seemed like a lot of stuff was going off. You mentioned the fight by the cave.
Yes.
But
which, not exactly a major event, but the way it was structured, I had it set so that they were basically morning, afternoon, evening, and they were the ringing of the church bell was one of the distinctions for kind of separating that. As far as major events go that you guys could have run into, not really. Although I think that, maybe given more time, there would be more to explore on the island. And they might have, if I'd come up with something else, then it possibly could have existed.
Yeah, sure. So, following up on your investment in the characters there, Tamara also asks, will it now be an inside joke that you can't convey panic or fear in NPCs?
See, here's the thing. That's even just me in real life. I'm just really bad with emotions in general.
Oh man,
But,
we need a
like,
Dr. Phil episode.
You know, maybe I
were
can't
discussing this
determine
before.
what's an inside joke and what's not. That's on everyone else to make fun of me for, I guess.
All right, first question from Zed Ploy. How do you feel about the beginning of the Jerryverse and all those different timelines that you've created? You done
dear
goofed
Lord.
on our timeline, Matt.
Yeah,
There-
we've got multiple timelines.
Yeah, no, there's have been a lot of fun things that have come out of this campaign. Jerry being one of them. Honestly, I'm very, very surprised, but also kind of not really, at how much the community has attached itself to Jerry, or I guess Jerry has attached to the community. Either way, two sides of the same coin. But it was absolutely not intentional.
Yeah, can you break down the mechanic in that final boss fight that came into play there and what its implications might be?
Yeah, so I figured a lot of the campaign, like I had the schedule, but as far as like actual how things were supposed to flow, there was a lot of it that I did just kind of make up on the spot. But there were so many good impromptu moments between Jerry, between your guys' interaction with the bread person and all that, the elevator shenanigans. I was like, all right, I felt like I had the capability to kind of bring around, and it was like a greatest hits. Just kind of go back with the golden bubbles. Shit, if I remembered, I had a list somewhere with all the other different things that could have come through the bubbles. I think one of them was a shark that was going to come through and just make an immediate beeline for bait.
That'd have been funny.
Would have been able to breathe on water or out of the water? Probably. But
there was just enough water on the ground at that point from the fountain spilling. Oh, but you did say it wasn't water, so that shark might have beefed it pretty hard.
Wasn't it? Well, I guess we'll never really know.
Well, you didn't let me control water on it, which I'm still pretty salty about. So I'm going to assume it wasn't water. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of tension between us.
Oh, man. You and your tension.
A lot of tension.
So this is not a question that we've written down, but like I'm looking at how you brought back these greatest hits. Did you have this like bubble time portal between the timelines mechanic in mind and then just went back and filled it in with these like, here are the moments that they played? Or when you got to the end, were you just like, here's a fun way to bring some stuff back? Like chicken or egg, which came first?
Yeah, it was definitely the latter.
Interesting.
I figured that like it kind of I felt like it made sense. Like there wasn't enough like time shenanigans outside of the loop, and so I felt like having something like that kind of reinforced the theme of time is seriously screwed up in this place.
I'm honestly really surprised by that answer. That felt like such a integral moment to how we would experience the campaign. Like that it was not there from early on is honestly not what I expected. Did you ever think about adding things to that list of, bubble accessible events that we didn't witness, or did you limit it to stuff that we had done?
No, I wanted it to be things where the characters had interacted with the world, where there might have been, certain disturbances, certain irregularities. So I figured, it was when I was coming up with that part, it was definitely tailored to what the characters had already done.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you have any more questions about the bubble mechanic?
Would have been possible to bring back multiple Jerrys.
We only created Jerry in one timeline, so probably not.
So yeah, I would say probably not, just because the Alpha Jerry only existed in one timeline, and now you've kind of broken everything by bringing him to a different timeline. So
it does make perfect sense though, because after we left the church, after the octopus shenanigans, we never saw Jerry again. So it's like it doesn't violate anything that as soon as we left the church, he got sucked into the next timeline.
Our continuity is intact.
Everything all planned. but not really. But I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. So Zed also asks, did you have other days planned that didn't happen? And it's starting to sound like you didn't quite have that concept of this day, that day, but more just like you had your events and you were just willing to let the days sort of follow or lead?
More or less, yeah. There was pretty much only one day, but the outcome would be determined by, who the characters interacted with. Like, did they steal anything, or like however, however that worked. So it wasn't really so much other days as it was just, one single day, and then kind of making shit up on the spot as they, as you guys interacted with stuff.
Ryan, do you want to read Zed's last question?
Bread. Bread. Bread?
Bread.
Did you anticipate the bread man becoming such an integral part of your plot?
I wanted like a fun, goofy character, something that I had hoped that you guys would latch onto us. Honestly, the one character that I did have emotional investment in was the guy that only had one fucking line. So the bread man has a very dear place in my heart. So I'm glad that you guys had as much fun with him as I did.
Yeah, because Ryan was convinced that the bread man was the linchpin of this whole thing, and that we were gonna like Scooby-Doo unmask him as the villain at the end. Or
it made sense. It made sense if you're looking at this from a 5D chessboard instead of your typical checkers, Colin. Then it makes perfect sense.
You only see checkers because I pop up DMing 1 or 2 episodes every couple of months. There are many dimensions to my chess game, my friend. However, none of those pieces are bread. I actually have a question for Ryan, which is, after Matt introduced this very one-dimensional character, what prompted you to say only the word bread for 2 whole episodes?
So part of it was Cult is kind of a wild card, and given an opportunity to be inside of a...
Oh, really?
So given the opportunity to be inside of a Mage Lord keep, he would be very insulting to them and probably be very mean, and then he would also try and murder them. I mean, which he kind of did. He did blow them up with a fireball, basically given the first opportunity. So part of it was I thought it was very funny to just be like, oh, that's my disguise. I already look like a crazy person. I'll just be the second bread guy. And then 2, it made sense to Cult in a way that, like, because he would have nothing else to say to these people.
Yeah.
And I think he also Cult established, like, I think the running joke was that you were like his brother or relative or something.
Yes, cousin or something.
Bait was trying to say that we were all brothers and Locke was adopted. I don't know why I felt the need to do that, but Locke was really upset by that.
Well, I would have been adopted too. You're an elf, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I feel like, I don't know. Have you seen Star Trek 4? Where they go save the whales? Because all Spock does is cover his ears with a headband, and everyone's like,
but you're
human
also
enough for me.
You're a drow, right?
But my skin is like super washed out and like almost bleached out. Like it is. I'm not like the pinkish white skin that a boy like me has in real life, but more like someone who's been sitting in a sand blasting machine for a really long time.
Jesus.
Oof.
So actually, this next question was from Sergio, and Sergio, I do want to apologize that I did not bring your namesake forward from the island to the boat. I don't know if you listened to the above boards yet. I had a lot to manage already, including 4 fairly prominent NPCs, and this is not your fault, but the character of Sergio did not flourish in the one episode where he was introduced. That said,
it's also on me because I kind of promised that I would murder Sergio and make another Jerry, and then I didn't.
Sergerio. So Sergio has asked the question, and I think we are the perfect three people to answer this because of the different stages of creation of this adventure and this podcast. Sergio asks, how much of Lema's power, mythology, etc. did you, Matt, create for this adventure, and how much was already established by Colin, and I should add, by Ryan?
Yeah, so I think we've had questions like this before where we kind of things don't really exist until it airs, right? And so that gives us a lot of flexibility towards like the whole pantheon as a whole regarding the Badlands and the mainland and all of that. So prior to Arianor, Lema did not exist like as a concept. So to me, it felt like it was having like a goddess of sorts in this in the campaign was a good way to kind of introduce that pantheon a little bit and anything.
Because I think the only time that we directly addressed the pantheon before this was in Blessing's Eve,
yes,
when Maven Locke met Seraphina.
Yes, that is correct. So she was pretty much made for, originally made just for this campaign, but I have a feeling that we will see more of her in the future.
Or in the past. Sorry, I need to stop watching that now. So from my perspective, it's a little bit different, because I remember in our initial planning, when you and I were trying to figure this out, another core concept that you had latched onto early in the planning of this adventure was that there was some spirit or entity at the center of the island.
Yes.
And we couldn't decide on which was which. And eventually you settled on time and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I had a general idea of what the mechanics were going in, because I have to plan around it. But I didn't know the full implications for what you wanted to do with Lema. I would say, like, hey, Matt, if you want to make, like, lasting changes to the campaign, go ahead and do it. But it really was just a lot of me just trying to push you in that direction. And I think the thing that I was building off of was what Ryan wrote originally, which is a list of the gods in the Pantheon, which we have not published because it's not canon until it airs. But Matt, basically, after I said some stuff, you were like, cool, let me go write this awesome adventure. And then you wrote an awesome adventure, and I'm like, cool, here's a name for a time goddess that Ryan wrote. It's Lema. And we just sort of put that on top of what you wrote for your story. So, like...
Sure, I'll take credit for Lema. I don't even remember writing Lema. It was like 2 years ago.
we're trying to... Yeah. I've been trying to, like, push each individual campaign writer to embrace some big world aspect, and Matt latched onto the Pantheon in a way that the others haven't. And I'm really happy with how it turned out, because it takes a lot of work off my shoulders, selfishly, because you have unlocked this new perspective on the world that fits perfectly with everything that came beforehand. And we still have these lists that Ryan wrote, but they will... I mean, again, it's not canon until it airs. I think even with the second tear in the middle of the Badlands, that was something that I looked at a map that Ryan made, and I was like, I'm going to put something there. And I told Ryan about it beforehand. Pat and Matt had no idea. And I think that this not canon until it's aired rule allows us to surprise each other in ways. And I think... while I had an understanding of the idea of Lema, what Matt did surprised the fuck out of me, and it was great.
Mm. True. There was always supposed to be something at the center.
Right.
I even put a little marker there. So, yeah, I'll take credit for that, too.
Ryan, more or less, you kind of gave us the sketch for this whole thing, and I'm the one facilitating a lot of the individual adventures, but I'm constantly like saying, okay, Matt told me what he wants to do. What did Ryan give us to work with? And I'm just like shuffling your work back and forth between each other.
Drunken concepts, things I wrote in coffee bars.
Well, I was about to ask, because I mean, like, Seraphina and Lema are the only gods that we've canonized at this point, but believe me, there are others. Ryan, did you have any specific intent with your initial sketches of the Pantheon? Like, did you ever expect anything like Lema, like a whole cloth creation of mats to come out of it?
No, I kind of kept things. I looked at other pantheons. I just wanted to cover some bases. I wanted to make sure that, like, especially if people wanted, because I think when I first wrote it, we really hadn't created characters yet, and there was like people that were talking about being clerics or paladins, and I mean, we weren't 100% sure if they were going to go like the more 5e route, where, you know, a paladin is just like devoted to a particular ideal, or whether they're like devoted to a god. So I wanted to have something there, so people could look at it and be like, oh no, I'm going to be X because this one seems to have a lot of things that I like. So I put some thought into it, but I didn't put like an intense amount of thought. I did start out wanting to do like a whole almost like Forgotten Realms style history, and I was like, I'm not going to write 10,000 words on a made up history that nobody's going to care about, and it's all going to be like different and conflicting based upon who you worship. So that's just too much work for me. I'm not getting paid for this. And also that was created over like 30 years by Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, true. So let me ask you this, Ryan. I know this is totally tangent, but I know that Cult is technically multi-class. He has like a level of cleric. So what god or goddess was he devoted to?
Oh, that's a good question. He is a knowledge cleric. I'd have to look at the Pantheon to figure out which one is the knowledge one.
Okay.
I have it on his sheet. I think he has like his old shield before he lost it.
That's
had something scratched on it.
I mean, that's something that, I mean, like, behind the scenes, you each have, like, different nuggets of what I'm working on, but, like, I've been trying not to just get each DM to embrace these tools, but also try to get the characters to look at it different. Like, I've had separate conversations with everyone, like, hey, Ryan, what is Cult's relationship to the gods? And then ask Pat, what's Locke's relationship to the gods? And that sort of came up a little bit.
Hates them. Thinks they're dumb.
That perspective thing, I wish we started it earlier, but I think, to Ryan's point, not doing that 10,000 word history has really allowed us to just sort of move in the direction the story takes us. And it's starting to make these new introductions feel more natural. So, like, Cult and Bait disagreed about why the center of the Badlands was risky, and that's not a huge reveal, but I don't know. I like leaning into that a bit more, and I like that Second Chance really set the stage for that kind of ambiguity, especially in that tiny island of Arianor. The Mage Lords and the bandits and the natives all have, like, different ideas about how Lema is supposed to run stuff for them. It's emerging.
I checked the Pantheon. His goddess would have been Elia, the goddess of knowledge. Lawful neutral, big step away from there right? Her divine symbol is an open book with a purple bookmark.
Cute.
Very cool. Well, hey, there you go. It aired, and now it's canon. Elia, the goddess of knowledge. You have another.
Also, I could shout out a couple more Pantheon because I have some good names.
Let's.
I want to do one more. I want to do one more.
Okay, this is not canon from here on out.
Gorb, god of conquest. Gorb.
Gorb. Oh, there's one I've never forgotten, which is Keg, Kegg. It's the god of what, alcohol or
god
drinking?
of intoxication.
God of intoxication. I've been wondering if I want to do anything with that one. I'm not sure yet.
His followers are suggested to binge, drink often, and start bar fights. His divine symbol is I actually have his divine symbol and everything. It's a beer keg, and his divine goals and aspirations: fight, drink, fuck.
Man, why can't we have... What if Edmund was pledged to that god as a paladin? Holy shit.
So, behind the scenes, before Colin destroyed my intentions of a character by giving me the worst stats I've ever had in a character, I was going to be either a cleric of Keg or a paladin of Keg. and it just wasn't gonna work. Like, it really wasn't gonna work because I only had one good stat. It was like everything else was really bad. So
I felt so bad. I rolled everyone's stats in a row, and like I rolled Colin's last. I'm like, wow, all these characters are really good, and my heart just sank every time I rolled those d6s.
I probably could have been a cleric. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But like all my stats were so bad, so I definitely couldn't be a paladin because I could either be a paladin that couldn't cast any spells or couldn't fight. Because of my wisdom or my charisma or whatever would have been 11.
Very different from the cult that we've got right now.
Yeah, so I did cheese it up a little bit by taking one level of cleric, which gave me armor, so I didn't have to worry about dex, which is only like 11 or 12, so I could get heavy armor or medium armor. But yeah, it's a little blast from the past.
All right, so after that fun. After our little deep dive into how we sort of build the show, we got another question from Jeff. His name is Jeff. Did you, Matt, anticipate the way that the story ended, or did you just set up the scenario and see where we took it? I'm actually curious about this because I know that the way you approached the days was a little freewheeling, but like the end of Strauss revealing his plan of the kid reuniting with his family, how did you write that out?
So, more or less, the ending would depend on what you guys had done during that day. So, like, what I had imagined was that you guys would, take like 2 or 3 days, figure out everything that's going on, and then kind of formulate a plan to essentially have the perfect day where everyone's saved or you have like the outcomes that you want. And then, you defeat, Strauss or whoever. And then whatever happened during that day is locked in. So I knew that like Strauss would be at like basically defeating him would mark the end of like the whole time loop bit. As to how they actually got there. That was pretty up in the air.
So I just had an emergent thought kind of for both you and Ryan, because from the very first episode, Colt was saying, let's start a revolution. And at the end, with the reveal of what Strauss was doing, Colt, you came very close to starting a revolution, really only stopped by Bait, who just got told what to do by Lema, sort of interrupting and trying to refocus.
Yeah, and I'll never forgive you for it.
Well, no, that's kind of what I want to ask. How would both of you have handled it? Like, if I had never taken Bait to the church, if we never met Lema and had that explicit dialogue, how would you guys have handled a conflict that really boiled over?
I would have said, okay, we're done recording. I need a day to figure this shit out.
I would have murder, a lot of murder. It was very easy. I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted murder.
One thing that you guys did miss out on by not going to the church in the beginning was that was originally where both the commander and Strauss were. They were at the service.
So we could have met them there in the church.
Yes.
And gotten a head start on figuring out their role and everything.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we've got a couple more questions before we wrap up because we've been at this for a minute here.
Yeah.
From Love Ray in our group, Rachel in our Discord. We have a question that Ryan sort of answered. When creating NPCs, do you roll for your stats? Do they level up with the PCs?
So for my NPCs, they're not. I don't treat them as characters. I treat them honestly. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling. Like if I'll maybe look at a couple stat blocks. Like, oh, I'm making like this warlord type character, like Masak. Then I would maybe look at that for inspiration. And then maybe give him like a couple unique abilities that fit into the theme of his character. And the same kind of thing with Strauss as well. He was kind of based a bit on like a warlock type figure. But there was I play it very, very loose, but
Yeah.
I don't treat them like they're player characters.
I think I largely handle it the same way. And above boards, they get a little more technical, even if I don't write it into the story as well as I should. We definitely roll the stats for all of our player characters.
Yes.
And though I have some secrets about Bait, his base stats were rolled with dice just like everyone else's.
You just happen to roll 20s on all of them.
Basically, and unless the way I handle it is unless I think they're going, like, I'm going to have to play them as a player character, the most I'll do is make a stat block. Like, I think Bottle Brew and Dennis have stat block somewhere. Florence, after Josh lovingly saddled me with that character, Florence, I have a fully built out thing. Florence is a different level, but when it comes time for the above boards, when we level up our player characters, I do move her up at a similar rate to them. But yeah, I think aside from the core Cult Lock Maeve, I think everyone has had a scattershot background.
Yeah, definitely. How do you when you did your NPCs, Brian? Like, what did you do?
When I did my NPCs, I had certain ideas of. I guess when I started coming up with the plot, there was like some that just had to be there. So I definitely needed, I needed a leader, and I kind of wanted this weird interfamily intrigue. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna make this person. Obviously, they're going to be the leader, and they're going to be kind of weird. Maybe they're a little bit conniving. Maybe they're like a backstabber. And then I just kind of branch out. It's like, oh, what would an evil or maybe very heavily neutral evil person like? What would their retinue be like? And then I was like,
right.
Oh, maybe I don't have to be like it doesn't have to be like a Harry Potter movie where like everybody that works for the bad person is also a bad person.
Yeah, they were just following orders.
Well, I mean, kind of. And I mean, but also when you think about it in like a feudal society,
less, yeah.
There's a lot of like, you really don't have a lot of choices in what you do. You live in poverty or you work a job that you don't want to do. So then I start branching things from there. And then a lot of it, like Randy, his was just a joke. I was like, it'd be funny to have a stoner halfling in here, and I'm going to find a way to do it. And this whole store is just a meme anyway, so why not? And then you just kind of branch out from there. It's like they're definitely going to talk to some guards. They're definitely going to talk to some townspeople.
Yeah.
And then just branch.
So another question from Rachel. Matt, when Cult made Jerry into Jerry, the Jerry we know and love, how did you react internally? And what did you think would happen?
So, here's the thing. Farmers don't name the animals that they're going to kill. That's a thing. And so, I knew it was going to go downhill as soon as he named the zombie, and I was like, okay. He's become very, very attached to this character too quickly. Which, obviously it was a prime candidate for like the whole, Golden Bubbles, Kids Bop best of thing at the end.
Kids Bop best of bubbles.
But it was more or less like when you deemed him Jerry, I was like, oh, fuck. All right, now I got to keep working with this guy.
Last question from Rachel, and I think this is for Ryan. Now, a little behind the scenes, we've recorded a few episodes ahead of what you have heard. We're already into the next adventure. More on that in a minute. But we've seen Jerry in the above boards on the ship. Bottle Brew, not a fan.
But Colin's not a fan, and there's some leak through happening.
Honestly, here's the thing. I think I do like Jerry, but I've had to play characters that don't, or maybe vice versa. It's all a mess. I don't know if I like or hate Jerry at this point. I can't keep track of it. But
Jerry's a beautiful boy.
Do you think Jerry likes his current role in the group?
I don't think he's capable of that kind of thought.
That is a good question. I think it's a complicated question because then we have to really start to think, what is Jerry? Is he just a zombie? Is he something more? Is he maybe a god? Is he a messiah of some kind? Who knows?
If this turns into a backdoor pilot for Jerry the God, the podcast, I'm fucking quitting.
I mean, it really depends because as a necromancer wizard, necromancers have like a little bit more power over undead, and like their stats are a little bit better. And then eventually, as more spells come into play, Jerry could become like a higher tier undead. So who knows? Maybe he will.
Jerry could become a father.
Yeah, he could become a father.
Then
depending on how
he didn't
play
meet
it,
the rest of his family.
There are some undead that have higher intelligences than zombies. So I don't know exactly how we would play it out, but if like for whatever reason Jerry were to become like a ghoul or something like that, I think ghouls have intelligence of 10, like he would be like kind of sentient. So maybe he would be able to articulate his displeasure or his pleasure in being an undead
He's the
servant.
opposite of the ghouls in Fallout, where he starts off feral and could become just a dude.
Could become a dude. I mean,
God,
if we were to get into it in the Eberron book, they have like a Carnathi undead, and Carnathi undead have a higher intelligence, and they even say in the stat block or like the information block above the stat block that there are certain like undead skeletons from Carnath that are like sentient and have like full memories of what they did in the past and are able to like communicate. So I don't know if we went really weird with it. I don't know. I mean, if he had his full memories, he probably wouldn't appreciate getting shot in the face a bunch of times with a magic missile, but I don't know.
If you try to bring this Jerry into Entrenched,
I would not.
I don't think I can do
know how I
anything
feel
because
about
it's
that.
not my campaign, but I won't be thrilled.
Hello?
Last prepared question. This is from our good friend Chowder, who you may have heard in an earlier bonus episode as Rigatoni Tony. What was his name in the Sexy Battle Wizards episode?
It was Rigatoni something.
It was Rigatoni something.
Fuck.
I'm blanking on it though.
Anyway, a delightful
the Rigatoni
human
part
with a
is very
delightful
memorable.
character
I can't
asks
remember.
Matt, do you feel that you missed out on a great opportunity by not having a Bill Murray cameo?
For all you know, Bill Murray was on the island and you guys just didn't find him.
That's the thing we missed. It's Bill Murray
It's Bill
wandering
Murray.
around Arianor, sidestepping every inconvenience he may. So that's the
Or
last
rather,
of
Bill
our
Murray.
prepared questions.
Oh,
Matt,
God, what
is
if-
there
I fucked
is there
up.
any
I fucked
other?
up. Bill Murray should have been the god, not Lemo.
Bill of Murray.
So, Matt, thank you again for running a second chance.
Yeah, this was a ton of fun, and I'm really grateful for all the feedback and all the jokes that have come with it.
Yeah, easily our most memeable campaign. I thought that. I mean, people are still.
Are you surprised?
A few people are still shipping Nalt, which is Nana Turtle and Cult getting together. But I think this is definitely the most goof heavy, meme heavy thing that we've done so far. Are there any other like last stray thoughts that you have about the campaign that you want to share with us plebeians down below?
Not really. I imagine that people will see more when the PDF is released at a future date, and I'm very, very excited to show everybody the copious amount of notes that I have for this.
Yeah. No secret death cults in this one because nobody accidentally murdered 70 villagers. But certainly full of its own secrets. So that wraps up our Q&A over a second chance. And want to thank everybody who submitted questions. That was done primarily via Discord. We'll usually put out calls for action for these ahead of time in our Discord, on our Twitter, at Dice Populi. And I don't know, these are some of the favorite conversations of mine that we get to have regarding the show. Before we wrap up and close out this bonus episode, we do have some more announcements. We talked a lot about our community, our Patreon, our Discord, our rewards. We didn't really talk about Dicey Waters, and I mean, that's what this is part of. Dicey Waters is our main campaign. And you all know that there's a new adventure by Pat coming up in a week. So I wanted to clear the air a little bit, give you an idea of what's coming up. Now, from the beginning, we planned for this to be the 5 adventures, followed by a finale by myself, where after Matt's campaign, we would have Pat's, and then I would wrap everything up with a nice little bow. But especially during a second chance, we started realizing how much untapped potential there was in these characters and in this world, presuming they don't all die, which could happen. At least Josh isn't around to throw us off of trees. But the departure of Josh did leave us thinking about how we wanted to square that away. So I'm here to announce a couple of things. First and foremost, the next adventure by Pat will begin in a week. It is called Locked and Loaded, an adventure that will take us to some unseen parts of the Badlands, some new perspectives on how the Badlands operate that we might not have seen before. And Locked and Loaded was supposed to be our final adventure. That is no longer the case. Once Pat concludes his story, I will conduct another above board and lead into a 6th adventure, run by our good friend, Chowder, who will be stepping on as a regular member of the Dice Populi cast, beginning with Locked and Loaded. He will introduce his character, and I think that this will give us a lot more juicy stuff to dig into. I've been helping Chowder plan his adventure as well. We have gotten to meet Chowder's character. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with it. Matt and Ryan, how do you feel about Pat's adventure so far? What are the vibes that you've been getting that you wouldn't mind leaking out before we jump in with the listeners?
It's intensely Pat.
That's very true. It is intensely Pat.
80s action movie. That's the vibe I'm going for, or what I'm feeling.
So obviously we have got a ton on our plates, and there's a ton of podcasts to listen to. One last thing that we're trying to do is create a new introductory episode. Obviously, it's hard to say to a friend, "Hey, you should listen to this podcast," and they're like, "Awesome, man, I'd love to." And then you're like, "Yeah, it's only 40 episodes and they're all an hour long." And then they never talk to you again. So what we're going to be doing is creating a new recap episode that will be pinned to the top of our podcast feed. It will introduce new listeners to the concept of the show, to the characters, and it will also feature brief recaps of all the adventures up until now. So we ask you to see if you could recommend the show to some friends, see if we can get our listeners bumped up over the next few months. We think this will be an easy tool to get that done. If they want to jump in, they can get the skinny on everything that's happened up till now. You can fill them in on the memes and all the jokes. And then if they like it enough, they can always go back and catch up through the feed. So on January 6th, we will be launching Locked and Loaded. Chowder will be joining the adventure with his new character, whom you will meet. We will be releasing this new recap episode, bonus Patreon content, restructuring the Discord, introducing rewards, updating the site. We are idiots for doing all this stuff at the same time.
Yup.
But we really hope that you enjoy it.
Yeah, we're all very, very appreciative of the community as a whole, and all the support that we've received up to this point. It really is kind of mind-blowing how far we've come, and there's no end in sight.
Yeah, you guys have been amazing.
Amazing.
And because you're so cool.
Amazeballs.
Amazing. I'm going to leave you guys with another god from our pantheon that has kind of a funny name. Brotak, god of the sea.
Brotak.
Divine domains of tempest and strength. His divine symbol is a storm cloud and a roiling sea. Tenets of the faith. Your temperament is the storm, silent until leashed. Storms bow to no man, neither shall you. Your fury is thunder and lightning. People should fear it, not you.
Sick.
So thank you again. Thank you all so much for those of you who listen, who share, who contribute, who chat, who say Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah in our Discord, who send pictures of your pets, for the people who retweet our tweets.
And retweet Colin.
We love it all, and we love that we get to make a thing that is enjoyed. And we're going to keep doing it as much and as long as we can. Thank you all. I'll be posting the list of all our updates in places you can find on dicepopuli.com and in our Discord. But I guess we will see you in 1 week.
Bye.
Bye.
CommonMakingProgram.com. I'm just going to sort of kick it off. I will throw to you guys as needed, but I'm probably going to enjoy talking because I can finally talk unencumbered for the first time in over a week. Get ready, world. That's what the world needed.
What?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, because he doesn't have the fucking voice.
Oh.
Yeah, my stitches are almost better.